Hi, I'm Lisa Andria, Transformation Life Coach. Welcome to the Ladies Who Leap podcast, where guests share their inspiring stories of leaping out of their comfort zone with confidence and power and into a life of purpose and fulfillment. Let's listen to their life-changing stories so that we can all learn how to gain the courage to take a leap of faith into a life that we love so that we can all be Ladies Who Leap. Let's get started. Welcome to the Ladies Who Leap podcast. I appreciate that you're taking the time to listen to the inspiring stories of people who took a leap of faith to reach new heights in their life. My goal is that their stories inspire you to take the first steps of many to follow your own unique dreams. Today, I'm really happy to introduce my guest, Alissa Bickar. She is the Consultress, real estate investor business coach with 10 years of professional experience bridging the gap between advisory and active business building with clients through personal development and tactical wealth building using the SIMPLE method. And it's a trademark, so we'll have to have her talk about that. Alissa is a seasoned business consultant with over 20 years of experience in entrepreneurship, finance, and coaching. She partners with professionals and producers to build and grow their book of business through innovative strategies and personalized support by combining practical business development initiatives with a whole person approach. Alissa empowers her clients to rise above the noise of competition in the marketplace by amplifying their unique strengths to achieve their next level goals and aspirations. It's a really nice way to explain what you do, I have to say. Welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's the Consultress that comes with a bow because I've got this gracious, some people say it comes with a hug and other people say it comes with a kick in the ass. So I'm here to deliver both, whichever is needed in that moment, because we've all been stuck and needing momentum to start and build. And then we've been in a place where we're just like, I just need somebody to tell me I'm doing things right and to help me find what's actually going well. So it's a pleasure to be here and to be a guest here on your show. Thank you so much for having me.
You are so welcome. I'm excited. So I'm going to start with you because you've talked about having over 20 years of experience in entrepreneurship, finance, and coaching. When did all of that start? Was there a period where you weren't doing this work and then you took a leap to get into this work? Yeah, how did that all come to be?
Well, so where I am now is like a culmination of my life. So, I grew up in an entrepreneurial family, so talking business was kind of second nature to me, and I didn't realize it until I started going out there into the corporate space and trying to solve problems and innovate. And I was kind of met with a little bit more resistance than I was used to being in a family business, being like, just be quiet, don't rock the boat, you know? So that was a rocky period where I called my attitude problem, where I went from finance, I was in banking, wealth management, private practice for financial planning, and I couldn't find that ownership of like what I was meant here to do. So it's kind of been always progressing in the background, but what took the leap of faith to get out there and really kind of like stick my flag in the sand and say like, I'm here is while I was in banking, I was like, there's got to be something else. I started a budget consulting business, and that was like where I put the flag in the sand saying, you know, I'm going to just help people not have to overdraw their bank accounts. And I got a couple as a client and worked through their budget with them for a few months, and I got the bug. I realized at that moment that I was unemployable. So,
well, that's an interesting way to put it, that you had realized you needed to take a leap because you were not somebody who wanted to work for someone else. You had that bug, and you grew up with parents that were entrepreneurs, I assume, from what you're saying. So that's great, great way to get that bug and know and feel confident that you can do it, because a lot of people don't come from that and don't feel confident about it. Yeah.
Yeah, the funny thing about that is my mom and my dad were like yin and yang. My dad would take the leaps and my mom would like be the operational partner, making sure the T's were crossed and the I's were dotted. But they both told me, go to school, get a good job, and become an accountant or a lawyer. I'm like,
Even
So
with
like,
their entrepreneurial spirit, they said that. How funny.
yeah, they were kind of like, listen, just do this. And I'm like you gave me a good template to just go do that. I don't think so. Like you two are out here blazing trails and living life on your own terms, full out. And then there's this story over here that's like, yeah, go do this and get a good job. And I'm like, okay. So I had to bust that myth a bit. So talk about courage. They didn't understand for the longest time what I was trying to accomplish in helping people maximize their own potential. And so it was kind of like climbing uphill a bit with the family because they were like, what do you do? And what does that mean? Like they had no context for the industry that I was behaving in. Plus my mom's really great at numbers, which is where I get that like number side of the house and the operational organizational stuff. But I had this zest for life and this like love for people where in the financial services industry, I really didn't feel it. So while I was good at it, I felt like I was slowly dying sometimes. And so in order to start that first business and then try other things and really never stop, I got trained in sales by doing MLM businesses, multi-level marketing and home parties, that kind of stuff. So I got trained in sales, but that didn't really fit. So I think the courage really came when my kids were born, and I realized that this is not going to go away, this thing wanting to be on my own and do things on my own. But now I had two more little people to be responsible for and a whole household. So they kind of lit the fire under my butt.
Yeah, it sounded like you were like what is it, a square peg trying to fit in a round hole. And
Oh,
so
so many round holes.
I guess I hit a little bit something there. And then when you finally figured out what your calling truly was, where did that awakening come from? Because it's something to do with helping others, right? So basically highlighting their unique strengths and helping others. When did that light really come on? I know it
I
was after you had kids, you just said, but yeah.
well, so part of it really was that this whole lifestyle and growth path is up to me. We back in 2004, I was working, I made a couple different pivots in the banking industry, and I was working for a bank that was all about customer service. And I was like, finally, where the people meet the finance. I was doing cartwheels in the middle of the branches. I went above and beyond opening, elementary school kid bank accounts, and I wore the freaking mascot. I mean, you name it, I did it all. But it was at that point where I realized like, my energy is really valuable. People want to be surrounded by this positivity and by this energy that I have, which was, by the way, the family template, live life full out. But I just had to figure out a new way to put it into practice. That was where the budget consulting business came. I really wanted to serve people, not just tell them your account's overdrawn. So starting that business put me on the path to learning sales, to learning marketing, because I knew I was organized, but I didn't feel comfortable like selling myself really. So those couple MLM businesses really gave me more of a foundation for sales and networking. And then, by the time the kids were born and I realized I wanted to raise them. So that took about 10 years, maybe a little bit less. And I went and trained in human potential. I said, okay, if I'm really going to help people, I'm going to become a certified human potential trainer. And my husband and I talked about it, and we invested all of our wedding proceeds, all the gifts that everyone had given to us. We took the risk and decided to invest in my growth as an entrepreneur, and we put our money where my mouth was. It was scary as hell, and I would never change it for the world because I would not be the person that I am here today if we did not take that humongous risk.
Wow. And you're saying we. It wasn't just you alone. He
Nope.
must be an incredibly supportive husband. How amazing is that? To have someone like that who says, okay, we're going to take all of this money and I believe in you and I know that you can do it and this training is going to get you there. That's what a great story. What a great husband. I mean, I don't know any other way to say it.
He's
I'm
still
sure
around. We're still here, going
hey,
strong.
yeah, don't get rid of somebody like that. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure a lot of people that are listening have great husbands and everything, but that was a really powerful way of saying, I believe in you. by simply putting all that money towards it. Because I'll tell you, training, what we do, there's a lot of training and it costs a lot of money. And so it's difficult, especially when you're first starting out. And so you have to believe in yourself. And you had a second person that believed in you standing right next to you. So that's amazing.
Yeah, he has been my support through some of the ups and downs and lefts and rights when you think you're going straight and you wind up halfway to Albuquerque, you know. He really, without the partnership that we have and the level of synergy, I don't think any of this life that I have right here would be possible. We do some of our own personal development with each other because we're constantly sharpening each other. And in fact, when I took that risk to train myself or to invest in my training, I had this very clear fear that said, what if you grow too much and you outgrow this relationship? And so not only was it a risk we took financially, but it also was a giant relationship risk that I was taking, saying, I trust that wherever I go from here is meant to be for me. And so I had to have that faith that it felt right. It felt like we were on the same page, but that there was a very real risk that I was going to change. And boy, did I change. I tell you what, like looking back on this over a decade ago now, I wouldn't be the same person standing here in front of you today had I not made that decision and gone and trained for those 4 weeks that year. But I can't, he would tell me every time I came home, he's like, you come home with all these crazy ideas and it takes us 2 weeks to get back to some kind of normal. And he's been living this crazy roller coaster life with me ever since.
But I mean, how wonderful that, well, let's put it this way. A lot of us have been in marriages and have gone through this reawakening, bettering ourselves, personal growth, and really taking these journeys very seriously. And having the other person not understand, not want to come along, and then you do that. You grow apart. You grow to a point where you're up, at this level, and I'm putting my hand up for those that could just hear, obviously, at a higher level of understanding of yourself and what you're capable of and what you can do, and then the other person being stagnant. So how fantastic that you guys have grown together. Just again, another testament to a really fantastic relationship that you guys have. Everybody, I mean, you should be talking about the relationship and how that all worked, because it really sounds like something that's so supportive, and a lot of us would love to learn from that. So before we get into your simple method, are there any specific issues that you find that come up with a lot of women in business that you found in your work? Like
Mm-hmm.
there,
Yes.
what's that?
Um, the number one thing that I mean, I have faced, and countless of my clients and people who are in my community now, it's that feeling of being alone. Like there's no traffic on the extra mile. Well, the ambitious, really, how many neighbors do you have? So as women, we are collective beings, and we really do create that hearth space. If you look back into Greek mythology, and I'm going to put on my homeschooling mom here, a hat that I did for 6 years with my kids after I got certified as the potential trainer. I'm like, I have humans, I'm outsourcing. I can't do that anymore. Anyway, long story short, we studied the Greek goddess Hestia, which is the goddess of the hearth. And keeping the hearth fires burning meant that people could have community. They could have conversation. They could come together and have a meal. They could cook together. They could experience life together. And this meaning for me that came from this really like newfound home as a hearth maker for women in business is this place and this sense of belonging. Because a lot of times we women feel in a competitive environment, not only are we competing against our, male counterparts or people who have equal or better acumen than us in other things, a lot of times as women, we compete with each other for attention. And so it can feel very isolating. And so the number one thing that I think I have found is that feeling of isolation, loneliness, unsupportedness, and maybe even this act of trying to fit in, trying to be that square peg, trying to fit into a round hole. But at the end of the day here, what I have found and what I've created because it was missing, going out networking, going to meetups and everything, is this community space. And to this day, I still think there is a giant need to create supportive community where women in business feel like they belong and that they are supported and that there's no catfighting or judgment slinging, but it's just a place to focus and better oneself. So yeah, that was the biggest hole that I found, and I also have taken strides to fill it because I needed it for myself.
Yeah, that's so true. And a lot of women, I think we all think, we're suffering, we're having issues with this, with our business or in business or working for a corporation. We have this issue, we have that issue. And we don't think that a lot of other women have the same issue. And we might be afraid to be that vulnerable self and actually talk to somebody and ask them about it or get involved in a community of women and kind of understand that we're not alone. And that feeling of alone, I think a lot of us, we've kind of, in a way, have been taught to be strong because we've had to be the caregivers and the ones who help other people, and we don't necessarily think about helping ourselves. And so there's that lack of trust, of not trusting other people to help us. So then you then don't ask for help, and then you lose that sense of vulnerability, which is really power. And it's a societal thing. So I completely understand, which I think when you also feel alone, it also makes you be very more susceptible to imposter syndrome
Oh yeah, big time.
because you're thinking, oh, I can't do this. And then you're not even thinking correctly about yourself and why, oh, I just fell into this because of luck. No, no, no. You might need somebody else to tell you you're really great at what you do. And I've observed that. So the best thing for me when I talk about imposter syndrome is for women to team up and talk to each other and give each other support. So it would help with what you said is the number one issue of feeling alone. And it also helps with the imposter syndrome. So we need to stick up for each other, women. We really need to talk to each other and really talk, feel trusting in a trusted relationship and really talk about what you're going through, especially like you were saying, and a lot of us are women in male industries. It's very
Mm.
difficult, very difficult.
Just the fact that so many industries are built from the industrial age. It can feel male dominated, but also the industrial age gave us a sense of like divide and conquer, where everything was broken down into its zero sum parts or its most common denominators so that it can be machine led. And so a lot of what we're experiencing in today's day and age is the breakup of this industrial thinking that we need to sit down, shut up, and behave, when actually this world is changing into what I call the age of disruption, but everything's being questioned and all of the things that can be done as an assembly line are actually being outsourced. So we're free to use more of our human connection and our creativity. So this being together and this community aspect is actually, I believe, is a thing that makes entrepreneurship the thing that saves the world. And we're constantly addressing the emergent problems of today so that we're creating new value for today's challenges, not trying to fix the scaffolding on the machine that's breaking. That's going away. And we as entrepreneurs, especially women in business, need to create that sense of togetherness and collective collaboration, because that is the way of the future, where we're in the most highly humane and highly technological society that our species has ever seen. Like, that's where we're going, ladies.
Yeah, and I think women are actually more skilled for this type of work because we've always worked in the sense of human interaction and listening and intuitiveness. So we are actually in a better position. So it's really interesting because what you're doing is you're taking something like finance and like business consulting and using that, which is kind of I wouldn't say a male type of industry, and changing it to help people in a more holistic way. Am I right in saying that?
Absolutely. Yep.
So you talk about the simple method? That's some of your methods. What are they? What is the simple method?
Yeah. So for those of you who are watching the video, you're going to get a special treat, but picture me this, an arc that goes from the left to the right, and S and I and M, the first three letters of simple, are going up the arc on the left side. And then the P, the L, and the E are starting from the top and descending the right side. So you have this rainbow arc with the word simple across it. Now, SIM on the left side, that's the tactical, practical, industrial, doing business side of this equation, of this methodology. We as entrepreneurs are very used to talking in those terms. S is strategy, I is implementation, and M is metrics. We've all heard these things, and this is how we work our business, create our structure, and move forward to create the value. If you pop over to the right side of this acronym, PLE is more of the people side, the interpersonal side, the right brain creative being in business, different than doing business, being in business. That is more of that 90% of the iceberg below the surface, the interpersonal stuff, the partnerships, the leadership, and the empowerment. Without both sides of this equation, business can feel very empty. So this methodology helps people to start where they're comfortable, identifying their strategy, how they're implementing, what they're measuring, and brings them into who they need to surround themselves with, how to show up and demonstrate the value that they're bringing forward in the world, and by virtue of that alignment, who they get to empower through the delivering of that business strategy, structure, and endeavor. And by the way, once you get all the way through, it's a great recipe to go back and inform and update and upgrade your strategy. So it's an upward cycling methodology that helps you to stay on the growth edge of your business and allow it to continue to grow as you, the entrepreneur, continue to grow. So there's this work on your business, work in your business, and work on yourself that is encoded into this methodology, helping people not only be in business, but do business correctly and make it align with them and really what their purpose is here to do, so that they can feel fulfilled in their work and not live that work-life balance, but to truly experience and express life-work balance.
Oh, wow. I was thinking one thing when you were doing that, and it's a little bit personal. I'll be a little vulnerable myself. Does anybody say to you, well, I've got a little bit more of the second part of simple, but I need the first part? So in other words, they may not go in right from SIM to PLE, but they may say, oh, I've got a little bit more of the PLE, but I need to get to the SIM. Is that?
Yes, and that's the coolest thing about having something that is upward cycling in nature. Because if you know already, I've got a strategy I'm implementing and I measure some stuff, but really I love the people aspect and who I need to partner with. And I love the leadership training and the personal development, and I love to empower people. But I'm a little too far weighted on this being side. That is exactly what this structure is meant to do, is meant to inform and bring you back. Okay, now that we have all of this defined and we know what brings you joy, what your alignment is, how can we bring that forward to market? And I think that's what a lot of the stereotypical self-help stuff is missing, is like, for me, where does this rubber meet the road? And so having this as a cycle, you can start anywhere in the acronym and go, you know what, I really love empowerment. Cool, man. Let's build the strategy around what you already know and then figure out where there's gaps. I introduce it as an acronym because it's easy to remember and it has a very forward motion trajectory from one to the next, but it isn't prescriptive in that you can only go from S to E.
Perfect. Thank you.
Because yeah, that's where the one-on-one stuff really kind of comes into life, where like you bring it to life in a mastermind setting, or you bring it to life in a one-on-one coaching session. You know, then we get to dial in and play with it. Okay, well, where are we today? Do we need more tactics, or do we need more like understanding and knowing which it is, whether you're doing business or you're working on the being? It's helpful to know where you have strength and where you're looking to fill in with team or what have you. So it's a very holistic system.
Very cool. What are you looking forward to in this new year?
Exponential growth. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah. Money.
Yeah. So exponential growth as far as our real estate acquisitions are concerned, to do much more of that. We're already in contract to do 3 times the amount of business that we did last year already in this first month of the year, which is very exciting, and also like kind of like drinking from a fire hose, but also to establish more of a consistent way to allow people to join the community. I'm really looking to grow that community that I host in order to bring the right people in that feel affinity with the alignment and the practices of being in business, but wanting to do it in a way that feels good and aligns with who they are. So that's my biggest wish and my biggest goal is to grow the Consultress community space with the masterminds that I host and the accountability groups that are embedded in it.
Well, your answer tells me that you are literally living that simple method. Because if I had asked someone, they were like, oh, I haven't really thought about it. It's like, no, you knew the exact answer. You have your two major goals. You're going for it, and you're even starting to accomplish it, and right from the beginning of the year. So you're practicing what you preach, which is fantastic. Is there one piece of advice that you would give a woman who's actually thinking about being an entrepreneur? Is that
Yes.
something you feel comfortable about sharing? Yeah.
Oof. Oh yes. First of all, do it. Like if you have a nudge, an inkling, or something just like silently poking you just a little bit, go for it. I like that is entrepreneurship saves the world, and women in business is the best thing since sliced bread. Yes, go. So advice on how find someone, find a sister who has walked the path, and find out where she hangs out. Find out who she connects with. Again, that community piece to me is fundamental. So find out who in your space, or maybe who you need to bring into your space, is already doing what it is you think you'd like to be doing, and have those coffee dates, have those phone calls, go to those meetups, virtual spaces, what have you, and just play with it, show up and be willing to say, I have an idea and I'm willing to explore, because a lot of us, we feel resistance when it comes to doing something new where I'm going to speak for myself, where you feel like you don't already have mastery. You're like, oh, I'm going to show up and I'm going to be the dumbest person in the room. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. So fear not, sisters.
Oh my gosh. And when you were talking about just seek out the person that is basically doing what you would like to do, and being an successful entrepreneur, that's something in the NLP world, neuro linguistic programming, we call modeling. So really sitting down and going, okay, how did you do this? Picking their brain. I mean, not putting them on the spot, but just taking some time, going to have coffee with them, dinner, whatever, and finding out how they did it. That's a really good piece of advice. And again, no, you don't. Obviously, you do not have to be the best person at this. Learning and becoming and growing and just being around people that are very successful in what you do is very important. Yeah.
Yeah, I will add one very easily rememberable phrase is go out and seek to be interested, not to be interesting. Because if you just go out and ask lots of questions and try to understand what people are doing, regardless of whether they're doing what you want to be doing or not, just being curious and letting that curiosity guide you into exploring what other people are up to, what they're experiencing, what they like, their success, their failures. Just be curious and be more interested in learning about people, and it will, like, the momentum will follow, and the success will follow after that.
Oh, I truly believe in that. That's amazing that you brought it up. And following your heart. Speak from your heart. When you are trying, or when not trying, when you are having a conversation with someone and you are being curious and they ask you about yourself, speak from your heart as to what you want to do. You know that what it is that you want to do, it has spoken to you and it's come from your heart. So you need to tell them about it from your heart. And that's where all the honesty, and I think how people trust you and feel engaged with you and want to continue to talk to you more also. Yeah.
Yeah,
Love the
right on.
curiosity. Yeah, coaching is, and coaching is one of the things that you do. So it's obviously going to be one of the important things. So do you have a particular story of a client that you had that just kind of sticks out for you that you'd like to share with us? I love hearing, because stories are how we learn about people. So love to hear a story.
Well, the one that keeps me young is one of my dearest friends, who we both had kids right around the same time. We were pregnant right about the same time, and I remember she bought a business, and this was back uh, before I took that training over a decade ago, and she was just pouring over this client list, and I don't know how to do this. I bought a printing business and I'm a graphic designer and I can print. Anyway, I said, well, why don't we segment your book of business, and why don't we send out an introductory letter, and look at the clients that are central to this business and the people who you want to keep, and maybe make some decisions about who you maybe don't want to keep or what have you. And she stopped me dead in my tracks after like the second or third coffee date we had talking about the stuff. And she goes, "Can I hire you already?" I was like, well, yes, you can. But she's really the foundation. Shout out to Vanessa Laverdier, because we were childhood friends. And when she bought her business and took her graphic design to the next level, I was right there, and I had so much love for her and I wanted to help. And through that process, she wound up building her business to work from home. She built out her studio in her basement. She started throwing art parties because to get more of that artistic graphic design into her business, and she's just flourishing and thriving. So, I mean, to this day, we still touch base. We don't live right next door to each other really anymore, but she was the inspiration that got me started. And every time someone asks me, what about what I do now, and it's about business development, it's about getting really clear on who you serve. I always think of her fondly because she was one of my biggest advocates and supporters from day one. In fact, she was one who kicked my ass and was like, "You need to put this on a business card, and I'm going to print them for you."
Oh, funny, yeah, because she was a printer. Wow, what validation. But see, that's what it's about. You found your calling. It literally found you.
Yep.
And you just were just doing it because this is what you knew, the universe knew this is what you needed to do, and they brought you your best friend, and I've got this problem, and you helped her solve it, and she was like, you need to do this. I need to hire you. It came to you. That a lot of people that happens. Unfortunately, some people are still too afraid to step forward. So I love that you told everybody, go for it. And they don't need to go 100 feet into it. They can take baby steps if they need to keep a job that they have. They can grow. They can do what steps they need to do while having their job. There is ways to go towards it without having to just quit your job and just dive right into it, dive off the cliff kind of thing. There are ways to do it. So I don't want everybody to go back to their job and just, I quit, and not have finances to go with it. Although I will say, if you do get laid off, that's a really good thing in a lot of ways, because usually you'll have some kind of severance if you've been in that job for a while. And now the universe is giving you an opportunity to hire someone like Alissa and help you to be able to do what you truly were meant to be and what you were meant to do.
Yeah, it's like flipping over challenges and going, I wonder what opportunity this is. Not looking for problems, but okay, when you feel a problem or a challenge, okay, I wonder what the opportunity that this is.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes people they'll go through it and then they'll find what their calling is. Like I have a friend who became a yoga practitioner, and she goes, getting laid off was the best thing that ever happened to me. And so there you go. So I ask everyone to bring their favorite quote, mantra, or positive affirmation and share it, because I believe that if even one person is changed by this, I have a very strong belief in quotes and things like this, then our job has been done. So what would you like to share with us?
I have a quote. I'm not sure who said it, but I have it written in gold marker that sits right here on my desk, and I look at it every single day. Great people have a vision for their lives that they practice emulating every day of their life.
Wow, that's a good one. That's very good. And by the way, they make mistakes. Great people, successful people make a lot of mistakes, and
Oh,
the
it's the
learning and
only
lesson.
requirement there is.
So don't think that when you make a mistake and you have to pivot or make a change or you learn from it. No, all very great people and successful people have made mistakes, but they've lived their lives just like what your quote said. So thank you.
Yeah, they practice emulating it every day.
Mhm.
Practice. Keep practicing.
That's the key word, practicing. Yeah. So how can people and listeners get a hold of you? Where's
Best way
the
to find
easiest way?
me I'm very active on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Google Consultress. and you will find me. If you would like, I have a free, simple diagnostic download tool. So if you find me on LinkedIn or Facebook, any of these platforms, and you send me a direct message that says simple diagnostic, please, I'll send you a free worksheet to be able to get yourself in motion with this simple method of the being and the doing of business in a way that aligns and fulfills your life and your work balance.
Well, I'm going to put that in the description, and it's going to be on the video because I'm going to be asking you for that. I'm going to be sending you a little message and saying, I would like that. Thank you. So everyone who listens, please, please do that, because I think you'll really benefit from Alissa's knowledge and background and your mission. I
Yeah.
love the mission.
Come
It's
slide
really
into my DMs.
Well, thank you so much for spending the time on the Ladies Who Lead podcast. I really appreciate it. Alyssa, you have shared a lot of really great information, and I know a lot of people really are going to want to get to know you, especially women that are really taking that leap into even thinking about having their own business, because it's difficult, scary. It's very scary. So having someone like you on their side would be extremely helpful. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, you're so welcome. And you never stop leaping. Once you take that first leap, the growth that comes and the amount of quantum leaping you can do from there just becomes boundless. And so if you're even thinking about it, do it. If you have done it, do it more. If you need community and support, you know where to find me.
Yep. That's the Ladies Who Leap community. That's the ones who want to keep and at least start that first leap, because like you said, it makes every other leap comfortable, much more comfortable.
Yes.
You're
Amen. Go leap, ladies.
You're getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. There you go.
That's right. Awesome. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, everybody. Please subscribe. New episodes on the 1st and the 8th of the month. And I just love when you subscribe, and you'll be able to be notified when something new comes out. Thank you. Thanks again, everybody. Thanks so much for listening or watching. Please subscribe to the Ladies Who Leap podcast to be notified of new episodes. And I would love to hear from you. Let me know what works, what doesn't, and if you have a story to tell, please reach out. Come join the Leap community at the Ladies Who Leap Club Facebook group. Remember, leaping out of your comfort zone is where the growth happens.